All right, welcome in. It is episode 92 here of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast, and we bring on a recurring guest. He has actually taken the lead of most guest appearances here on the podcast. But he will be tied for first after next week. But it's always great. We talked, Zach. We probably talked when it was back in June. Probably not soon enough, but with football season approaching. NDSU season 2 weeks away at US Bank Stadium. It felt like a perfect time to bring you back on, do an NDSU preview chat, Bison football. Who knows? I just tweeted out a hint of who's tomorrow's guest host is, and it was the Ted Lasso barbecue sauce meme. So we'll see if anybody gets it. But
there we go.
You guys have been all over the map. You're staking out a claim. I saw you guys are in South Dakota or in Sioux Falls now.
Yeah, we're invading enemy territory, but if they're paying me money for barbecue sauce, they're not enemies anymore. So headed down to Sioux Falls on Saturday, making that trip. Gonna go sling some sauce, and then little by little, we're just gonna build this empire, keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is episode 92, and this one I really struggled with. I'm trying to think of a 92 that played for NDSU. I can't think of one. I completely dropped the ball on episode 90. That should have been a softball home run, but I completely dropped my shoulder, popped up to the pitcher, and right after Grant and I were talking about it, my dad calls me that next morning. He's like, "You're an idiot. It's Phil Hansen. It has to be Phil Hansen." I was like, "Oh man, how did I botch that?"
Yeah, that's tough. 92, I believe Lane Tucker, one of my teammates, was 92. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mike Hardy might have also been 92.
No, I think he was 91.
Okay. Yeah. Then
was it? I feel like there was like a Boyer maybe that.
Coulter.
Yeah, I think he was 92.
Let me
maybe
check.
Not.
Coulter Boyer. Good podcasting.
Yeah, this is
he was
great.
92. You're correct.
Yeah, he was 92. Yep. All from I guess this is just kind of a South Dakota themed podcast. You're going down to South Dakota to sling sauce. I'm going down to South Dakota for a wedding.
Sauced.
Coulter Boyer. Yeah, to get sauced. Coulter Boyer, the pride of Hurley, South Dakota. He was 2011 All Missouri Valley Football Conference preseason team. And then
very good football player.
Very good. Part of the national championship team, the first one of the Division I era here.
Yep. Somebody named like a name like Coulter Boyer just has to be a hard-nosed D tackle that is just a real SOB to mess with for 60 minutes, and he was one of those guys.
Yep. Definitely one. Well, most defensive tackles, it's a thankless position in football. But you talk about you ask any quarterback, they hate pressure from the middle.
Yep.
They hate that A-gap pressure, and that's their job. They won't get the credit for it in the stat book, but they're basically the offensive linemen of the defense. Just they don't get the thanks they deserve.
We see you and we appreciate you, D tackles.
That's right. And Grant got beat by a lot of them when he was a lineman at Mankato West. So,
well, good thing I didn't play inside, so no tackles beat me.
You at least got beat by athletes out there.
That is correct.
Yep.
Yeah, they put me on.
The funny part about that, Zach, is there's like one video we could find of Grant's football career, and it's him his senior year, his last game he ever played in the Metrodome, just getting absolutely roasted and forcing the quarterback to throw an interception. So he hasn't heard the end of it since I found it.
See, that's tough. It's a man in the arena situation, Grant. How do you feel?
It was one of them where we're down by 18, and the whole game I was holding my own. And the one time I bit on him going outside, turned to my inside shoulder, and he just whoop crossed my face and got to the quarterback. So the worst feeling. The one time you lack on your fundamentals, and he beats you inside.
Yep. Can't beat it. And now Dylan has a video of it. So
Yep.
The
Unfortunate.
whole world,
Unfortunate.
actually.
tough scene.
Yeah. Was it what? Channel 5 put that clip out there of that state semifinal game, Dylan?
Yeah,
Something like that.
It might have been. I can't remember. It's on YouTube.
It is on YouTube. So
It was the
it's rather unfortunate.
his career actually was ended by at the time a future Bison and a future Bison's brother. His career was ended by Kerry Woods,
Okay.
and then the quarterback was James Hendrick's older brother.
Sure. Got it. So I imagine you lost to Bemidji. Just
Bemidji, yep.
putting dots together. Yeah, that's I'm right there with you. Two of the worst moments of my life came in losses in the high school semifinals. So I'm with you. Those are also so hard to find, and it's, still haven't gotten over those. Need to close the yearbook.
That's some of those stay with you forever. And high school is underway. The top divisions in the state kick off this weekend. The 9-man and 1A are in week 2 already. At Trinity, we had our first game on Friday. We won 30-10. We got Minot Ryan on Friday, and going up against the future Bison in Okeson, whose first name is escaping me. But
let's see.
I a little bit disappointed I don't get to go to that game. But when one of your best friends is getting married, that takes a little bit higher priority. So I'll be at the rehearsal dinner screaming at my phone.
Coy Okeson.
Yes, Coy, that's right. And he big boy. He is a stud. He's glad I only have one more year of cheering against him before now I guess we can consider him family. So since he is going to be a Bison. So but let's talk about the 2023 Bison. The season, they kick off at US Bank Stadium, like I said, against Eastern Washington. Coming off their first time ever losing in Frisco against a really good and team that's the favorite. The Bison, I guess, are in a little bit of unfamiliar territory, being the underdog, but I think that's also something good for the Bison. I got to see Matt Entz at an alumni event in Dickinson probably about a month ago, and he said that camp was going along. He's very encouraged, but they got to put it together. There's definitely some question marks. The secondary is a question mark. NDSU, they just announced that their Hunter Zenzen, a transfer from Iowa State, who is coming in, is going to be out this year, which doesn't help when you lose a guy on the D line, a position that I think is still fairly thin and a lot of question marks. The offensive line is going to be good. You return a quarterback in Cam Miller, who I think is not as appreciated as he should be. I think, Zach, you and I both have had some Twitter arguments on that one with people. And then the receiver room, I think is going to be a very good, a positive this year. I think that was a big question mark. I think Zach Mathis has, after that Indiana State game, I think something clicked with him where he's kind of taken control of that receiver room and established himself as the number one guy. Eli Green had a really strong end of the season, along with Raja Nelson, Braylon Henderson as well in that room. Raja Nelson is going to be taking some snaps at running back, which something that you're not going to see, you're not used to seeing, is the running back room is not as deep right now, and that could change. We don't know until they start playing games, but right now on paper, it looks like it's a little bit thin. Tamarick Williams. After that, there's some question marks. TK Marshall is showing he can do some things, but he hasn't had the carries to do it. We'll see if he's able to. Having to replace Hunter Lipke. Kobe Johnson would be a nice back to have, but he's at Colorado State, and kind of just the nature of the transfer portal. But Zach, how are you feeling about the Bison team this year?
It's when I look back to last year, it's kind of a context and rephrasing thing of, we use the phrase question marks. I look at these question marks this year with a lot of excitement. Guys that were really young when I was there or hadn't come in yet are going to be guys who are contributing every Saturday, week in and week out. Especially the receiver room. Zach Mathis was a young cat when I came in. I think he's 2 years younger than me. And, up until the end of last year and now this year, he wasn't that number one guy. There were horses above him. And now I think, like you said, he realized, like, not only do I have to, I'm capable of doing it. 6'7", 203, that's a pretty big target and kind of a safety blanket situation for a guy like Cam. And then you look at, like you said, the depth. Raja Nelson, this might be kind of an extreme example, or I'm going to put him in that Deebo Samuel category of like guy that is going to catch it out of the slot, could be a home run hitter, or he's going to come across on a jet sweep, and possibly a guy that could bang it just outside of the tackles too. I think he's going to be a really exciting guy to watch on the offense. And then Braylon, I think he's borderline in that Darius Shepard position of like, if it's 3rd and 6, you can go to Braylon and it's as sure as hands as you're going to find. I'm super excited for Bray. He's worked his tail off his entire career. And I think this year he's going to be able to show it. I don't know how you guys feel, but just historically, it's always been a stable of backs. Kind of splitting reps. You think of like, I believe Papa Shaw and DJ McNorton split carries at some point. You look at Samuel Jury and Crockett, but then John Crockett was so special his last year that it was kind of like, all right, buddy, here's 150 carries. Let's see what you do with them. And then he's obviously one of the most special running backs to ever play in the program. I think we're going to see something like that with Tamarick. He is a workhorse, and if he stays healthy, man, I think he can carry the ball that many times and really put the machines on his back. Excited for Cam. I think he has a chip on his shoulder, especially after the SSU game down in Frisco. A lot of people don't want Cam to play this year, and I think he knows that. And I know Cam is wired in a way to prove them wrong, which I'm super excited about. When I look at my position room, you start talking about the Rams. That's kind of where my expertise is. It's super exciting, that front five, and it's just going to be what arrangement are they in? Who's playing where? What's the best order for these guys to be playing in? And then who are the 6, 7, and 8 guys that are going to be able to fill in if something goes wrong? That can make or break a season. It really can. Losing one guy who's solid up front in those first 5, you lose one, and the next guy coming in can't step up, then it's hard to do anything on defense. You look at Hunter Pontius, Jake Rock, Brendan Westerberg, if he isn't starting in the front 5. And then you get the transfer from Mizzou. His name is escaping me. It's just, who's going to step in? There's going to be an opportunity to play. NDSU will play 6 alignment any given Saturday. So who's going to come in and take the reps? And I think, like I said, especially looking at the offensive side of the ball, I see question marks, but I look at them with excitement versus, concern like it might have been last year.
So then, guys, I'm wondering, you mentioned that people don't want Cam to play or they're nervous about him. What aspect do you think he's trying to take this season or in this offseason to take his game to the next level? Like, which question marks is he trying to answer?
I think Cam is kind of solidified himself as a very solid game manager. But I think we got spoiled for a while with pure arm talent when it comes to quarterback. It's not very often first-round draft picks. And even you look at Stick, who was, I believe, a 5th-round draft pick to my Los Angeles Chargers. You're seeing like a very good football player who isn't an extraterrestrial guy that was made from the gods. Cam is a very good football player, and I think what we're going to see is that progression of his actual talent in the passing game, which I'm very excited about. He's shown he can run it. He's shown he can make the right decision. He's a good leader. Okay, Cam, let's sling this thing around the rock.
And the other part of it too is I think a lot of people. Trey Lance took off, and then the COVID situation, everything. You go get your money. You're the number 3 pick in the draft. No one's going to blame him for going, but nobody expected him to be gone after, I guess you could say, a year of him playing, but his 3rd year, his redshirt sophomore year, but which he didn't get to play because of COVID. He got the 1 game, and he, Cam, I think a lot of people, when they saw him on signing day, they looked at him and figured he was just going to be kind of a filler, one of that Cole Davis types that was going to be just getting that quarterback ready. He could come in a pinch, and then Zeb Nodlin was not what they thought he was going to be. Cam came in and stepped up and played in was the starter in the playoffs. And, I think everybody kind of looked at him as a stopgap for Cole Payton. And last year I compared it similarly to the J.J. McCarthy, Cade McNamara situation at Michigan, where Cade went out, was never expected to be the guy, ends up getting thrown into the fire, goes and beats Ohio State for the first time, gets him to the playoff, wins a Big Ten title. Cam Miller, Quincy Patterson was supposed to be the guy, and he didn't work out. Cam comes in, relieves him, leads him back to a win, wins a national title, and this is going to be Cole Payton's team, and it just never. And then the few times Cole got in, we still have yet to see him really throw the ball. He's an excellent runner. I'm curious to see, though, Zach, what they have in the plans for Cole this year, because I don't think they can just. I think they have to try and utilize his arm if they trust him enough.
Yeah, honestly, I look at it just from a fan perspective, and I don't know Cole at all. I've only heard the best things when it comes to people describing his character, and I think he's a guy that if he says he's going to stick it out, he will stick out. That being said, he is too good of a football player to not see the field a majority of Saturdays here coming up. And like you said, and we ran into it a little bit last year of if the only thing Cole does when he steps on the field is run, we have to switch it up a little bit. Now, what my whole perspective is when I get in arguments with people on Twitter is that there's a whole lot of context that goes behind these things. Because let's say Cole does go in, starts throwing the ball around the yard, starts lighting people up. Well, what does that do to Cam's confidence that they're taking reps away from him to throw the football? But, at the end of the day, it is about winning football games. And I trust that this coaching staff is going to put those guys in the best position to do that. But also, just from a pure fan perspective, that is an exciting weapon to have on our side of the field that I want to see him cut it loose a little bit. I have been told that we will see a good amount of Cole Payton this fall, so I'm excited for that.
And guys, I'm just kind of looking ahead to the schedule here. For possible road trips, fans love road trips. What are some good away games that NDSU's got coming up that maybe fans can circle on the calendar and say, hey, let's go check out this campus in this place?
Well, this is the year for road games for sure.
Yeah. if you're picking to either, let's say you're in Minneapolis, you're kind of that middle road to some of the Missouri Valley schools, or you come to Fargo. I'm not going to lie to everybody and say that the games at Fargo are going to be very exciting the entire year. I think doing stuff like now you see the home and home with, I believe, Eastern Tennessee State out in Nashville, and then obviously Tennessee State. That's right. And then you see the U.S. Bank game, and then the game in Charlotte against the Citadel. I think those destination things are big for the fans. It just reinvigorates them a little bit, gives them a chance to get out of town. I played at the game at Target Field, and there was 30,000 people playing in a baseball stadium. That stuff does matter to people. Seeing, kind of out of the norm away stadium for the Missouri Valley. That being said, I'm just going to go week by week here. If you are truly into the Bison lore and go back to and understand the rivalry, I think the game in Grand Forks is almost a must-watch, must-get to. Grand Forks is a dump. I'll scream that from the top of the mountaintops. But that is an incredible game. It's a horrible venue, but I'll give them credit. Those frat boys that barely know how to read pack those stands, and they get loud out there. Missouri State, Springfield, you're not missing a lot, for being honest. And then I think if you can get to Brookings, man, that is one of the best scenes in all of college football. When we're playing down there and it's not 10 degrees outside. It's November 4th, so it's going to be chilly. I'm going to be there, staying hydrated, staying warm with a liquid that might be doing both at the same time. So I think if you can circle, we're coming up on it now, but if you can get to US Bank, that's going to be a really good time. Get out to the Chicken Coop in Grand Forks, and then get down to Brookings if you can. Those are the three that I'll be circling on my away schedule.
That makes sense because I think Ethan, who can't be with us tonight, he's up north at the cabin. His dad was an NDSU grad, and they already got tickets this year to go to Brookings.
Yeah,
And
it really is.
And I was going to say they went 2 years ago, and wasn't the outcome we're looking for, but he said he had a hell of a time.
Yeah, it's so much fun there. On it, I will tip my hat to them. That venue is unbelievable. You get the away grandstands where you just pack in all those insane Bison fans, and then they have a really cool scene. It looks like an FBS type facility, just in that bowl, and then you have the athletic suites in the other end zone. It really is a cool place to watch a football game.
Mm-hmm.
It's upgraded. So when I was a freshman at NDSU in 2013, it was Brock Jensen's senior year. Me and you would know Mason Ankenbauer, me, him, and then his dad, and then one of his dad's buddies. We went down to the game. Yep, and we went down to the game, and that was before they renovated. In the stadiums, it was just wood bleachers on that side, but it was still a incredible atmosphere. The locker rooms were just a brick building, probably the size of the room I'm in right now, it looked like.
Yep.
And it was just a dump. And the grass was about like 8 feet high. You could tell they haven't mowed it. There was a high school game the night before. Anything they could do to gain that competitive advantage. But the joke was on them because they ran for, I believe it was negative 34 yards that day.
That was
got lost 20-0.
The Zach Zenner game. I know a lot of the diehard Bison fans on Twitter still hold that over SCSU fans' heads. I actually have a funny story. I was on a recruiting trip down to Brookings. I had gotten contacted. I sent my film out to Coach Eck, the O-line coach there, and he said, "Yeah, come on down. We'll do a visit." Went through the facilities, met me, and we're sitting in the weight room, and there's a picture of Zach Zenner on the wall. And I nudged my dad and I said, "Remember when we held him in negative yards, in front of Coach Eck in the CSU weight room, talking about weed?" I wasn't even committed to NDSU. It wasn't anything. And I was just I probably should have let that one go. But whatever.
What was his reaction? Did he hear it?
Oh yeah, he heard it. It was very awkward. I was just "Yeah, I apologize." He's like, "I get it," But yeah, that was it was certainly something.
Well, you just gave me my my clip. I'll share to the world is that story when we do our when the episode drops tomorrow. I'm gonna use that video. I'm gonna use that clip. So
I love it.
Since we've been on the we're on the topic of the Jacks. They are the clear-cut favorite in the Missouri Valley, the clear-cut favorite to win it all, as they should be. They've got two really good running backs. Gronowski is a hell of a quarterback. The Yankee twins are back at receiver. They lost Tucker Kraft, but there is talk that Hines, the guy behind him, might be a better tight end than Tucker Kraft. The defense really doesn't lose a whole lot, and I guess we set this up all right here, talking about earlier in the show about the importance of D tackles. South Dakota State lost their two sixth-year defensive tackles, 24-year-old guys. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to be the end-all, be-all. I think, like I said, they're still going to be a hell of a team and projected to win it all, but they have 6 new coaches as well. But I think one of the biggest keys and why NDSU struggled to run the ball against South Dakota State last year, especially in the national title game, was because of those two guys that were essentially grown men that were able to flush out power and kick it out flush it out, like Coach Stiegelmeier said in the pregame show, of that's what they had to do to win the game. But those guys are gone. That's a question mark, and that's something that I think that a new head coach, six 6 new assistant coaches, and how does South Dakota State handle success? Because Zach, you and I have talked about this, because I wouldn't be shocked if South Dakota State seems like a team that would be a 1-year team, and then after that they would just kind of really soak that in and really relish that as much and see them drop off.
Yeah, I'm interested to see that as well, just because I think it was more of like an outlier. You look at the history of SDSU, of all these collision courses for NDSU and SDSU and Frisco. Turner Christian goes and throws 9 picks against JMU, or they just always find a way to fumble their way out of a game they're favored in, and end up not being there. So why should we believe that they're going to be this perennial powerhouse to go on a run here? Now, I think there's certainly the capability, but a lot of those question marks that you mentioned, I wonder if it was just the perfect storm for those guys to go out and say, hey, old ball coach, we're going on 30 years. Don't know how many we have left with him. Let's go win one for him. And then, I'm not an excuse guy, but it was not a good year when it comes to injuries last year for the Bison. It might have just been a perfect storm thing, but I mean, I think if we're playing them every year in Frisco for the next 5 years, that reinvigorates a rivalry that's up there with some of the best in all of college football.
Well, and because they're guys, if I'm not mistaken, new head coach was he on staff last year? Was he the defensive coordinator? Or
Yep.
Okay. So
their offensive coordinator was the quarterback when we were in college, Grant.
Okay. Gosh, you're dating us there, Dylan, making us seem like we're really old guys here. Damn. But so six new assistant coaches,
which doesn't even make him that old. He's got to be 30, I think.
Well, I'll be 30 in February, so he's right up there, the same age as me. But so 6 new assistant coaches. Did they all just decide to retire with the old ball coach too? They said, hey, we got ours. Or did they just maybe think, hey, it's time for a change?
Yeah, I think a lot of those guys got poached, if I remember correctly, moved on to bigger programs in smaller positions. But, 6 is a lot of turnover. I think if it's the right fit, though, like I had 3 O-line coaches throughout my career at NDSU. You adapt pretty quickly, and I don't think it really has that much of an effect. But when I don't know what, pardon the pun and the joke, but I don't know what kind of juice Stig had these guys drinking to have, the Yankee twins come back and Tucker Kraft play as long as he did and have 60-year D tackles. He obviously had some intangible about him that kept those guys on the roster for as long as he did, and I'm wondering how that's going to affect the morale, and do these really talented players decide to stick around and take another year if they have the opportunity to do so.
Do you think maybe
that's another part too that doesn't get discussed enough, is how NDSU got hit by the transfer portal, and South Dakota State, they're like, Mark Gronowski could go to a few colleges in the Big Ten and be the starter. He could go to Northwestern, where our former D coordinator is now the head coach. He could probably go over to Minnesota and be the starter.
He could go south on I-29 and play for Nebraska.
Yeah. Outside of probably Iowa, I think he could probably go to any Big Ten West school and be the starting quarterback. I don't think I'm that crazy when I say that. Like how those, or a guy like Isaiah Davis, how has he not gotten poached yet?
Those NIL pockets must be deep.
They must be. It has to be something, but because I mean, and there it's going on. I don't think there's no doubt. I mean, NDSU coaches have said that they've had guys or teams have tried to poach players. I know there was a rumor last year that Notre Dame was trying to poach Christian Watson to go play for the Fighting Irish.
I know a few guys I played with that told me they got DMs from other colleges and said, you have a blank check if you come here.
And Harbaugh has to get suspended for buying some kids a cheeseburger when there was no COVID. That's the
even consider that a suspension. What are we talking about?
No, but this is a bigger spectrum here. Is the NCAA? They'll govern stuff like that, but when it comes to actual things like the tampering, it's like, oh, like when real leadership needs to happen, they run with their tail tucked between their legs. Is more so what the point I was trying to get at here. But
So are you saying, Dylan, again, the NCAA should be charged with lack of institutional control for the 1000th time in their career?
yeah, essentially.
But with your buddy Harbaugh, wasn't that a school self-imposed suspension? So technically the NCAA...
It was because the NCAA, they worked out a deal or something, and then like it got shot
So he
down in
misses,
court
like,
or something.
UNLV at the big house.
Yeah, he misses
UNLV, East Carolina, and I can't remember who the third one was, but
Dude, call me
Hawaii.
crazy.
I think it's Hawaii.
yeah, no, Hawaii was last year. It was
That
East.
That 3-week vacation's probably somehow gonna re-energize him and have him rejuvenated for the Big Ten season.
Oh, he's going to be losing his mind. That guy's a psycho. He's going to be like chomping at the bit to get out there.
So then, is this like an NFL suspension? No contact, no with any players or coaches.
No, this is an NCAA suspension where it's he can do everything, like all game planning, everything. You just can't be on the sideline coaching.
So it's not a suspension.
Yeah, no, not really.
It's a timeout.
That's exactly what it is.
So he gets to do all the work during the week, but then they say for 3 hours on Saturday, sit in a corner with your head facing the wall, Jim. You've been bad.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Okay.
Bowling Green is the third team. Bowling Green is the third team that he'll be out for.
How are they going to survive?
Oh man,
I don't know.
With how deep they are at every single position up across the board, they're screwed, man. They're screwed.
Yeah. 8-4 best is the ceiling for them, I think.
They're gonna go 8-1 in the Big Ten and then 0-3 in the non-conference.
You better knock on wood, buddy. It wasn't very long ago Michigan was the laughing stock of that state.
Oh, I know. I know.
Man.
Well, Tuck's still coming, so I'm not too worried. But
Hey, are you chopping wood since Dylan? Are you chopping wood since Tucker's coming?
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been doing. Yeah,
That's all
wood.
I see him. That's all I see him talking about on social media. Is that we just keep chopping, boys.
That and his little race car he has that he puts recruits in. He's smoking a cigar.
Hey, his current quarterback now must be.
Tucker?
Yeah.
That dude's cool. Say what you want. He's cool.
I just hope his current quarterback is better than was it Peyton Thornton, who's now the starting quarterback at Auburn.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy this. I saw a meme today, or it had to have been a meme on Facebook. They said, look at how deep the quarterback position is the Big Ten if Graham Mertz and Peyton Thornton are now starting quarterbacks in the SEC. And I'm just like, this person, they are being funny, or it's some fanboy trying to really pump up two bad former Big Ten quarterbacks now starting in the new conference.
You know, hand up.
And not to mention Taylor from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Graham
Mertz was legit.
He started out with a bang, and then...
Well, it helps when you got Jonathan Taylor in your backfield.
Well, wasn't Taylor in Indy at that time? Because it was the 2020 year.
No, it was he started the 20... Or did he... I feel like he took over in 2019.
I thought it was 2020 because
it's just earlier than that.
Okay.
Maybe he wasn't. Maybe it was still Jack Cohn. Or maybe you might be right because I think that maybe Jonathan Taylor wasn't. I want to say it was Jack Cohn because they that's why Jack Cohn transferred to Notre Dame because they wanted to go with the guy with Graham Mertz with the higher upside, and it didn't work out.
So it says in 2019, Alex Hornibrook transferred. That's what opened the door
to Florida State.
Yep, and Cohn won out. And then the next year, I believe Mertz beat out Cohn.
That's what it was.
Because Cohn got injured in 2020. and then he came in and lit everything up. Like 17 consecutive passes, 20 for 21. I remember, I was like, that dude's legit, and he absolutely stunk every year after.
Well, yeah, because I remember because it was that weird COVID year. Wisconsin played 2 games, like you mentioned, Zach, and he lit the world on fire, and everyone's like, uh-oh, Wisconsin finally has a quarterback. And then I think they had to take like a 2-game break because there was an outbreak in the locker room. And then when he came back, he just kind of nosedived, and we were just like, what happened?
Cat was printing the shirts.
Yes.
Tough scene.
That. But yeah, and then 21 was a disaster for them, and they have. We will see with Tanner Mordecai and Luke Fickell what the Badgers do. I don't think it would make anybody sad here. The other two, well, Ethan, who's not here, and then Grant, the Iowa fan, that sad if Luke Fickell and them don't get off to the hottest start. But
I will put my hand up. There are like certain college teams that I'm not a fan of, but it is just more fun when they're good, and Wisconsin is one of those teams. That being said, I am a Notre Dame fan, so we'll just see how. I'm very nervous. I'll be honest. I'm nervous about the midshipmen in week 0 because that very much feels like an overhyped Notre Dame loss. If it doesn't come from them, it'll come from like Georgia Tech or a Pitt in week 11, whoever we play after we go undefeated the first 10 weeks.
Well, and that's not a slouch to go undefeated against, because in those 10 weeks you have Ohio State and USC, and I think both of those games are knockout games for all 3 teams. I think if Notre Dame can come out of that 1-1, I think they're still going to. I think they have enough to where, and they win the rest of the games on their schedule. I think they should be in the playoff, and that's why they went out and got a guy like a Sam Hartman to go, because I feel like that was kind of what was holding them back the last few years, is that couldn't get them over the hump ever since Ian Book, who I'm surrounded by Notre Dame fans, but I don't talk to a lot of Notre Dame fans. But like it was one of those situations too that I think a lot of teams that have had a quarterback for however many years, where they just get it's time to be done, like a Penn State with Sean Clifford type of thing, where it was like he wasn't good enough to go pro, but he also wasn't bad enough for somebody to jump him.
Right. Yeah, just kind of holding him hostage. It is kind of funny that Notre Dame is actually taking steps to kind of dispel this whole cupcake schedule thing, because not only, like you mentioned, do they have Ohio State and USC, they play Clemson 2 weeks after too. USC. Yeah. So
also a very good team.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those. Being a Notre Dame fan,
I think this could be a year.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I've learned to not get my hopes up, because we'll get through. We're not going to beat Ohio State and probably not Clemson, but let's say we go undefeated in those games, we're going to lose to Wake Forest or Stanford in the last 2 weeks. That's just how Notre Dame operates. I've learned my lesson.
Well, they did lose to Stanford last year and Marshall, but it was. I had fun with it.
I do think
I watched Notre Dame beat Denard Robinson in South Bend in 2012, I believe. That was a 13-6 disgusting game, but it was awesome.
That was a terrible game. That was like one of the worst football games I've ever watched, I think, where neither team wanted to win that game. I think there was like a combined 10 turnovers.
Yep. Denard Robinson and Tommy Rees, just two equivalent athletes.
And then didn't he get? I think he got benched for Everett Golson too, didn't he?
Yep.
And that was kind of when Everett took over and ran with it. But since we're talking FBS, have you gotten to see watch any of the Swamp Kings documentary yet?
I have not, but I honestly am kind of hesitant because of the reviews. And the previous documentaries that have been put out by this documentary, what is it like?
Untold.
Untold.
Untold. This whole series is kind of like paints these very unflattering people in very flattering positions. And apparently there were some very, very key things critiquing Urban Meyer that are not in there that kind of turned me away from watching it.
This I haven't finished it. I'm through the first 3 episodes, and it's an Urban Meyer puff piece. It's really because it opens with them talking about the previous coach, how there was a bunch of discipline issues, players getting arrested, all of this, and it's like, do we have to pull up the rap sheet of like what was all going on there? And like they didn't like after they won the national title, they talk a little bit about it, like where there were a couple of things, but there's so much more, like Cam Newton stealing a laptop, then throwing it in the bushes and the police finding it. One of the running backs texting his girlfriend, time to die.
I believe
Percy
one of
Harvin,
the
Percy Harvin,
arrested before the SEC championship game.
Yeah, Carlos Dunlap
getting a DUI before Zach Smith. I mean, you don't got to say a whole lot more with that one, but that was when it all started. And then his grandpa bailed him out and talked his ex-wife out of because his career would be over. From the takeaways is Urban Meyer is a psycho. Some of the stuff that they did at practice was absolutely crazy. And they kind of they paint guys like a guy like a Chris Leak, just they paint him terribly. Chris Leak was a dude in college.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was the starter the whole year. They talk about how Urban Meyer, if he didn't get Tim Tebow, they weren't going to be any good. It was like you had Chris Leak. He started most of the year. The only time they ever used Tim Tebow was in 4th and short situations or down by the goal line. That was the only time he got used his freshman year.
Also, I've had enough of the like Tim Tebow fake motivational Gary V, and like just the promos where he's like midnight workouts, and it was awesome. And I'm like, all right, Tim, that's enough. I know you were obviously the whole storyline with him was that he was saving himself for marriage, but like I know you were around there still being a college athlete. What are you talking about? Acting like you were this narration.
So, it's funny they're talking about Brandon Spikes, and they were like man, like Tim was the only one that wasn't partying or out drinking or doing anything like that. They mentioned they talk about Aaron Hernandez one time, and it was that Florida arrest, and that was it. Other than that, there was zero mention of Aaron Hernandez outside of him catching a touchdown.
And of course, Tim made that part about that at him. He goes, I put that at fault just as much as me for Aaron. What could I have done? I should have got him out of there sooner. I should have got him out of there quicker. Me. Just trying to pump up the Tebow brand. It's like, and his voice changes all the time on how he's talking about something. If he's talking about their midnight workouts, it was intense. I loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. And when he's talking about his parents, it gets all quiet and soft and sad and feel bad for me. It's just like, all right, yep, Urban Meyer failed in the NFL. We haven't heard anything from Tebow in 10 years, so let's dig up the old history books and talk about our success for 3 years in Gainesville.
And Tebow's just one of those guys that is a barometer that, like, I probably am a bad guy because he's genuinely the nicest human alive, and he just bugs the shit out of me. So, like, it's probably a sign that I should probably work on myself. But I saw something today, and it may or may not be true, but the next story that's coming out of the Untold series is on the Dallas Cowboys. And guess who fronted $50 million to tell that story? Jerry Jones. Guess what kind of story about Jerry Jones is going to be told? I'm sure it'll be very unflattering and paint him in a great light. That's another one I want to watch.
you kind of hit the nail on the head because I don't know how many of them you've watched, but the Jake Paul one they have, I came away as like Jake Paul actually seems like I don't mind Jake Paul all that much.
Yeah, right. It shouldn't be that way.
So, have you gotten to see the Johnny Manziel one?
No, that's just I do want to watch that, but that's more just a time thing. I haven't been able to find it to sit down and watch it. But again, like I heard that there was no mention of like his domestic violence stuff.
There was some. They didn't really get into it. It was more so just kind of they breezed through like, he was driving at a very high rate of speed and the minor they didn't get about like the part about how like he like drug her out of the vehicle and all the other allegations about it. Right. He talked about it, how it was like he was at one of his lowest points, how he was a shitty person. He admits it, which I guess that's part of the healing process of admitting that I was a shitbird.
Yeah.
But the series like it opens with him drinking a beer and lighting up a joint. I hope he is okay and like can handle that type of stuff, but like listening to the stories and hearing like seeing him when he was on TMZ like all the time back in like 2016 and 2017 is like, man, I don't know if that's the stuff you should be doing, dude. You shouldn't be surrounded with yourself with those type of people, but
yeah, and just as like obviously, and I think he's been open. I believe he said he's diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and like obviously struggling with mental health stuff. And then you see that he's opening a nightclub in College Station. It's like, okay, I get like the business decision. You're probably going to kill it, but like, dude, is that something you should surround yourself with? Do you really think so? So, like you said, I hope just for him as a person. Besides the domestic violence thing, Johnny Manziel was like the coolest dude alive when he was 19, 20, 21. And then, you hear like the Jamarcus Russell story of like he's watched 0 hours of tape. It's like, okay, well, that's probably why you didn't work out, pal.
Yeah, but
just an insane character. He really is one of one.
It was. He was, and I guess Grant and I are dating ourselves again here, but we were in college during the Johnny football time, and
you guys
it was old. Like, yeah, that was 10 years ago. So
Johnny's his redshirt freshman year, I was a freshman, not a true freshman. I didn't play in college. And Sime Hall, there was 7 or 8 of us. We were watching the Florida Texas A&M game when we're all like, because I don't think either Florida or Texas A&M didn't play the first week because there was a hurricane.
A&M didn't. That's
okay,
right.
And then we were just like, who is this number 2 guy? He is electric. And he was just like, he's going to take this over he's going to storm college football. And, here we are 10 years later, like, it seemed like it was just yesterday.
Yeah. And I always just have it burned in my head of the Alabama game when they're in all whites and he's like, he fumbled the snap and then hits Mike Evans like 50 yards on a rope down the field. It's like, who is this guy? Literally nobody else played football like him.
And he was fun to watch. I took the bait and thought he was going to be a star. It was me and myself and Skip Bayless.
You and Skip?
We were the.
That's what side of history you want to be on.
Yeah. Well, I've already established myself, Zach, as the Skip Bayless of the show. I am the most hated man in Kansas City. I don't know if you saw the video of when we reviewed quarterback. I just like him, just the most ultimate spin zone of like passion. No, he's a bad teammate. He swears at coaching. He's not coachable.
Yeah.
And
Did they take
he swears way too much. And, 8,500 views on TikTok, and like the comments were like, this guy is an idiot. You should never be allowed to talk again. It was all, and then like there were a couple that were like, okay, this is a joke, and then they're like, okay, yeah, this guy's just saying this. Like, there's no way this guy can be this dense. That's the difference between Skip and I. Is I don't believe half the stuff I say. Skip believes all of the stuff he says.
Skip's
Yeah,
never
I don't
lost an
think-
argument in his life.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Like, imagine being married to that guy. Of like, no, I took the garbage out last time. He would never give up. And now.
Well,
is
he's
it-
too
is
busy
it-
throwing his Dak jersey into the garbage, so he's got to remember to take the garbage out. I think that's the only way he takes it out is so he can make the video of him chucking his Dak jersey in the garbage.
with his penis height microwave.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there are a few fan bases that I've tangled with. The Kansas City people are nuts, and then sneaky Minnesota Vikings fans are like, they're rabid dogs. They're unbelievable to deal with.
Yeah, they can be. Well, I'm glad that you didn't mention Cowboy fans. I guess we're good there. Not one to
They've been
brag,
irrelevant
but
for
Grant
30 years.
yeah, Zach. Grant has said, these are his words, not mine, that I am the most tolerable Cowboys fan he's ever met.
Yeah, you're the shiniest turd in the world.
Yeah,
Great.
that's
He's-
right.
He's the best looking pig with lipstick on.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's just no good way to paint it.
it's
Cowboys fans are like, they know they're sad and depressed, so they're almost not even fun to pick on.
no.
You just say like,
well,
you guys
that's
didn't touch it, and 93 was your last year, and that's it.
it was actually 95,
Same thing.
but he that was the year I was born. I think I was 2 weeks old, and there's a picture of me with that because at the time my dad's not really a fan of any team now. I guess you could say it's the Vikings,
Sure.
but he grew up a Steelers fan. So there is a picture of me 2 weeks old, dressed up of both him and I in Steelers gear when the Cowboys won their last Super Bowl.
That's great. My dad is a Bills fan, so I like had Cowboys fan hatred instilled in me. You know
Why is that?
I've
Why would a Bills fan be mad, have hatred for the Cowboys? I don't understand.
Now you're just
Look,
being petty for something you never
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah, I'm not a Bills
You
fan.
weren't alive for those.
I gotta feed into the stereotype a little bit.
They're so funny to mess with though, because like I'll just send a picture of Emmitt Smith in a Cardinals jersey, and that does it, and that's enough to piss him off.
That
Speaking of, I have been completely engrossed by this topic since I heard. Basically, my entire personality is Pardon My Take, and they just play 24/7 in my head. But they did the holy shit, that guy played there. And
Yeah.
it's just been completely entrenched in my brain for the last week.
oh, it's so true. There's so
I don't know
many
if
of
you
them.
guys- I don't know if you guys have any you can rip off your head, but I have screenshots of some of the best ones. Speaking of the Bills, Thurman Thomas was a Miami Dolphin. That's
Ooh.
disgusting to
Gross.
see. Darrelle Revis was a Chief, as you know, I imagine.
Yeah.
Closed
Yeah.
out his career with them. Jason Taylor was a Jet for his last few years.
I remember that one. Yep.
Yeah, and Hard Knocks.
Chris Carter was a Dolphin. That's
Yes.
that one that comes to mind. Patrick Ewing was an Orlando Magic.
He was
And I
also a
believe he
Seattle
was a
Supersonic.
Supersonic. Yeah.
Yeah. Olajuwon being a Raptor is disgusting in my head. And then this one is gross too. Just photo proof. Jerry Rice was a Bronco.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That and a Seahawk
And a Raider.
Yeah. Yes.
and a Raider.
So I didn't know this about it. Like, I obviously knew he played for like 20 years or whatever, but he was 43 and he caught like 90 balls for 850 yards when he was 43. Just insane.
Yeah, that's why you have a gold jacket.
Yeah.
But
Well, also,
have
guys, if I'm-
have you listened to the episode of him on Pardon My Take where they go over his stat line for some of his games, and it's just ridiculous. Like if you had him,
Yeah.
because it was the pre-fantasy era. They talked about, I was like, man, I wish I would have had you in fantasy, because it
Yeah,
was
would've
like
been a
he would have had like
60-point day.
70 points.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Bruce Smith was a Washington R word, and so was Sean Alexander, which was troublesome.
Deion Sanders also
Yep.
for 1 year?
He was, and I think he closed out with the Ravens, which is weird.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
Yeah.
I knew Ed Reed was a Houston Texan for a minute, but he closed out with the Jets, and seeing that was very gross to my eyes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So that, like I said, I just had to talk to somebody else about it because it's just been torturing me for a week.
Yeah.
Or like even like Kevin Garnett in a Brooklyn Nets uniform.
Yeah, that's gross. God, Ken Griffey Jr. finished out with the White Sox.
Yeah. Oh, that poor bastard.
Yeah, I think he got cut because they wanted him to pitch hit and he was asleep in the clubhouse or something like that. And that was the end of his career. But I'm glad you brought up Mount Rushmore, Zach, because to help round out the show here, we've got two more segments. We've got this one and then Curveball of the Week, which Grant has. But Mount Rushmore, we're going to do, and this is a little bit oxymoronic, I think, because when you think of NDSU, you don't think of individual players. That's not what the program is based off of. It is based off of the team and the team's success. But we don't care. We're going to do it anyways. We're going to do the Mount Rushmore of NDSU football players. So, Zach, since you are our guest and we appreciate you coming on, it's always fun to have you on and enjoy our conversations. We're going to the floor is yours for your Mount Rushmore of NDSU football players.
Well, fellas, you've been such gracious hosts, and I apologize for the beatdown that I'm about to put on you. A lot of my stuff is swayed towards offensive players. I was an offensive player, and a lot of great defensive players, but I think offense is, like you mentioned, the side of the ball that does get to let the individual shine a little bit. And if we're talking about individual shine, accolades, leadership, impact on the program, I don't know how you go with anyone else other than number 12, Easton Stick. That's my 1-1.
You're 1-1. Okay. All right. And this is just we're not doing like a snake draft or anything like that. This is all just our own personal one. So if you want to go name your other three, go right ahead.
Okay. Good, because I prepared for like a snake draft, and like I have 25 guys on the board just because I was worried I'd have to pick and be strategic.
You did your homework. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I was sitting at work today and I wanted to do anything else. My second pick, a guy I was fortunate enough to play with and still am good friends with today. I have to go with Mr. Drake Animus himself, Cordell Volson. So Sticky and Cordell. I really think we're going to look in 30 years and Cordell is like the guy that we advertise as Bison brand. He is Mr. Bison. And like I said, very, very fortunate to have been around him and lucky enough to call him a friend. Number 3, I have to take the guy that was genuinely the most dangerous human as far as impact on the game to play on that side of the ball, in my opinion. Marcus Williams. It was just an entire side of the field was shut down. And then, he shuts you down for 3 plays and he drops back to receive the punt and he'll house that on your head too. Just an absolute weapon. And I mean, 6'2", 200 pounds, like a huge corner by NDSU standards, was an NFL guy. One of the best athletes. And like I said, you just go watch that U of M last play of the half when they're playing that TCF, when Colton Hegel just pitches it back, it bounces perfectly, and Marcus is off to the races. I think he definitely deserves to be chiseled into stone. This is where things get difficult. Because if I could have a Mount Rushmore with 10 guys on it, I would. But I'll save them for my honorable mentions. They get the plaque at the base of Mount Rushmore. I keep going back and forth now. I think I'm going to take Mike Favor, one of the
Ooh.
only NDSU players to be in the National College Football Hall of Fame. Um, Helped coin the term the Rams, Sam's Rams. Basically, was part of setting every tradition that came along with being an offensive lineman at NDSU. He was a center. He wore 57, so I looked up to him a bunch. And I think he's a guy that, like Cordell, is going to be on the hallways of the tunnel of the entrance for eternity.
Oh, great choices. The Mike Favor one, that is a very underrated one. I did not think of here, so I might have to reconfigure my Mount Rushmore. But have you read Ed Kolpak's book, Jeff's dad's book about the history of the Bison? It goes back from like 64 to like 89 or something like that. Have you gotten a chance to read that yet?
Yeah, that's I mean, those might be the most fascinating years, especially because
Oh, yes.
that is just lore to me, and even lore to my dad, who like eat, slept, and bled green and gold. That's a little bit out of his age range, but still guys that like he grew up watching playing and heard the stories about. And like I said, those are the guys that legitimately laid the foundation, these baby steps that got us to where we are now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, for me here, is number one, I will I gotta go with the Pride of Oaks, North Dakota. He's a made member in Bill's Mafia. Really, the kind of, when you think of NDSU, you think of this guy. It's Phil Hansen.
Yep.
Was the best player in the Division II era on that 90 team. He was the defensive player of the year. Showed up from Oaks, never lifted a weight, was farm strong, but then got in the weight room, became weight room strong as well, and then all of a sudden he ends up having an 11-year career in the NFL, virtually unblockable. Phil Hansen, is on number one, is my first one. And number two, like you, I think you can't have a list without Easton Stick. 3 national titles, the winningest player in NDSU history and in FCS history. Comes in, steps in for Carson Wentz, goes undefeated 8-0 that year, and then has to take a step out for the national title game, and then they lose in the semis the next year, and then they go win back-to-back national titles. Easton Stick now having a good career for Zach's Los Angeles Chargers.
I think he made himself some money this preseason. I'm very excited for him going into next year. By the way, I just have to jump in about Stick. I don't think it can be overstated of how dominant of a football player he was. It was almost like Steph Curry level, Mahomes level, not that level of echelon of talent, but the fact that every time they are executing a play, you think it's going to go in their favor. You never saw like bad decision interceptions from Stick. You never saw balls on the ground. You never saw the wrong read. Everything was perfect, basically from the time I got there to the time he was gone, which is unbelievable.
Yeah. And I remember in my dorm my freshman year, I had one of my suite mates was from Omaha, and he was saying like he's the next guy. He's going to back up Carson. And then when Bull left, it was like, I bet I wouldn't be shocked if he transfers, but he stuck it out, and now he is in the discussion for the greatest Bison of in history, and he's on 2 of our 3. We will see if he makes our 3rd here. No pressure, Grant. But number 3, I think you got to go with, and this might be controversial, but Brock Jensen. He was not the most by far not the most talented quarterback that ever played for NDSU, but he had all those intangibles. He would, gritty performances. You look back to the 2011 game against Georgia Southern, his flu game, runs 55 yards to the house to seal the victory. The next year, yeah,
the turf toe,
and then the next year runs QB power. The drive against Kansas State, 3-0, essentially Well, technically, no. He'd be 4-0 against Division One FBS teams. Two of the three that he dominated. The other one, I guess, he was the backup in, but really got NDSU on the trajectory. Won them their first FCS national titles. Brock Jensen's my third. And then my fourth.
Right-handed Tim Tebow, baby.
Yep. That was I wasn't gonna say it because we already had our discussion about Tim Tebow, but that's kind of what you think of when you thought of Brock Jensen, a tremendous leader, a selfless leader, was gonna put the team on his back and do whatever it took to win. And my last one is we're going back to the 80s. We're going back to what started NDSU's run in the 80s. We're going with Jeff Bentram. Showed up as a freshman, was the starting quarterback from day one, led them to, I believe, 2 national titles. They lost on like a 58-yard field goal in the third, which would have won them, or they lost on a 58-yard field goal on the last play of the game. Solidified ran the veer to perfection and paved the Harlan Hill Award winner as well. And that's why Jeff Bentram is on my Mount Rushmore. So I got Phil Hansen, Easton Stick, Brock Jensen, Jeff Bentram.
Jeez, you just give the shine to the guys that already get it. You're just a quarterback.
I know. Yep.
Well, so we're not wasting anyone's time. And if you guys are wondering, it will be 3 for 3 on Easton Stick. Because Dylan, actually, when you texted me that this morning, Easton was the first name that came into my mind.
Yep.
Like you said, two national championships as a starter, and in 2015 coming in after Carson broke his wrist, fractured his wrist, and it looked like a well-oiled machine that he didn't even need to play in that national title game. So, for all I'm considered, Easton's got 3 of them, and just to still have a very, very good career in the NFL as a backup right now, still be in it. You can't say enough. And the other player I thought of, Dylan, again, I'm dating myself here, but someone I share a first name with, Grant Olson. Was it that 26 tackle game against Wofford?
29, don't short him.
Or 29, okay. just incredible. He was all over the field, just a leader of your defense. And you know what? When you think of the best defenses of all time, you have someone at that middle linebacker spot, and that's just who Grant was. And that was my first year seeing it live, seeing in person, just like this dude is flying all over the place. Mm-hmm. He's got to be up there. And then
that's a good pick.
We'll give a little love here to the offensive linemen, guys. How about Billy Turner? We talked about when Marcus Williams is on the field, Zach, how you could shut down one side of the defense. Well, when Billy was on the field, you didn't have to worry about sending help that man's way.
Yeah.
He could shut a guy down, and how dominant those offensive linemen were, from 2011 to 2014, and not shortchanging any other group, but especially those teams right there. He was just the mainstay, and to this day, the biggest person I've seen in person. You see them walking around campus with a 4XL sweatshirt on. It's just like this is a mountain of a man right here. So we're gonna go Billy Turner, and then my last one here. We're gonna go away from the players, and I'm gonna go with the coach. I'm gonna go with Coach Kleiman. Being there for those first 2 national titles as defensive coordinator, or first 3, and then coming in, taking over a program that was already at the highest level, and to take it even higher than what we thought humanly possible. Sure, he leaves to go to Kansas State in 2019, but that 19 team was just so dominant too. He built that up, and just what he did as head coach to, like I said, keep the program where it was and somehow take it to a higher level. I think I've got to give some credit to Coach Kleiman there. So, Easton Stick, Grant Olson, Billy Turner, and then Coach Kleiman.
I like that 4. I think the coach Mount Rushmore, if one spot was reserved for a coach, I think it would be a very interesting discussion to have on Twitter. A lot of it would be era related, but you'd hear a lot of arguments about how, honestly, I think Coach Bowl is in the discussion of having a statue built in front of
Yeah.
the dome for him one day, for how instrumental he was in everything. And then obviously, if Coach Entz adds another good year and another title, that's a guy that we're looking at like, hey, that resume stacks up pretty well to everybody else. So, and then obviously you look at Rock, who was just back in the program here in the last few weeks at fall camp. I thought that was pretty cool. He was handing out a scholarship. There's a lot of names in that all-time coaching discussion. So you might have started a NDSU Twitter war here. I'm excited.
Yeah. This is we will I might have to share that. I'm a part of a few groups on Facebook. I might have to share this to the Bison Nation Facebook page and see what they think here. I think that'll stir up some discussion. For if we're going honorable mentions, I mean, like we said, it's realistically we shouldn't be doing a list of players of Mount Rushmore because there's so many, and it's never been about one player. It's about the strength of the Bison is the herd, the strength of the herd is the Bison. But that's what the internet's for, is to have these fun discussions. So, honorable mentions, I think there has to be some type of criteria because obviously Trey Lance, Carson Wentz, they have to be on it, but they just didn't have the numbers or the playing time compared to the Jensens, the Easton Sticks or the Bentrams. Chris Simdorm is obviously going to be on that list. Tony Satter. I'm trying to think here. Who is the running back with Simdorm? And the name's escaping me, but and it shouldn't, but it is. And then Tyrone Braxton on that list. Going back to the 60s, you said Mike Favor, Lamar Gordon. Lamar Gordon should probably be on that list. Kyle Steffes,
probably the best running back to ever play here.
Yes, and that's saying something.
Mm-hmm. Just my bias comes through in my honorable mentions. Not bias because they're incredible players in their own right. John Crockett was absolute electricity every time he touched the football. Tyler Roll, my guy, West Fargo Packer, again, just like a guy that was a meatball running through faces, just a guy that was incredible to watch. I have to throw in the end zone stalker, Steve Walker. He was awesome. Just a guy who wasn't one of these freak athletes, but definitely paved the way. If that team in 07 would have been playoff eligible, I think we would have been starting that dynasty that year. Have to throw in C. Duds, Christian Dudzik, DJ McNorton, Ben Ellefson. I have a long honorable mention list, but I want to give these guys credit. Kyle Emanuel, I put Trey on there. Rob Hunt, Tanner Volson, two of the only Remington winners in the history of NDSU football, along with Joe Lund, who also won it. Lamar Gordon, as we mentioned. Somebody who is near and dear to my heart, Ty Brooks, was just a guy that, like, you didn't know if he was going to say something that was going to get him canceled or if he was going to run an 80-yard house call. But either way, you were entertained. Pat Paschal, I think Christian Watson, as far as the most talented receiver in the history of the program, has to be talked about. Derek Tuska, Joe Mays, and Ramon Humber, need their shouts. Funny story about Joe Mays is Coach Kramer made him stop doing bicep curls because they'd have to cut the arms on the sleeves on the jerseys so much. He would literally grow inches into his biceps and couldn't fit in the jerseys. And they're almost cutting the whole sleeve off for him because his arms were so big. And then I have to shout out the specialists, punters and kickers are people too. Ben LeCompte, as far as proficiency at his job, was one of the best of all time at NDSU.
Yeah. Chad Stark was the running back with Jeff Bentram. That's who I was thinking
of. Should have known that. That's bad by me.
It's okay. We all forgot it. So, We could go over to Mankato West, and there was a safety that played for them. He played in the NFL. I can't think of the guy's name.
Craig Dahl.
Craig Dahl. Yeah.
Craig Dahl. Yep. Craig Dahl. Super Bowl champion with the New York
Super
Giants.
Bowl champ, Craig Dahl.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 07 Giants.
Yep. I believe Ramon Humber got one too with the Patriots.
Yep, he did.
Good for him.
So, yeah, that was that's a heck of a list we got there, and we apologize if we missed some, but when you have so many great players cycle through there, you can't.
Dylan, I'll throw in
remember them all.
I'll throw in a receiver. From my early days at NDSU, Zach Vraw.
Yep.
From Rosemont here in Minnesota.
Oh, dude, just absolutely killing it in the ice cream game too. What a dude's a baller.
Yeah. Well, your early years, Grant, he was one of those guys that went pre-COVID went to college for 6 years. He was there for all 3 of my years.
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember. Did he start? Was it like 2010, 2011? Or was it?
I think he was 2010.
It was 11.
Okay.
Or maybe it was because he broke his collarbone. He broke his collarbone on his the first play of his freshman and sophomore years or something like that.
Yeah, because you're like you said, felt like Zach was at school for 6 years.
Had some of the best plays in school history too. When he mossed that kid from Western Illinois, pulled it over his back.
I was in the corner for that one. I was in the corner there. If you watch the video, there's me jumping up, standing down, putting my hands up.
Zach Frost he got there in 2010. Was his first
2010,
game.
Okay. And since we're on the receiver train, Darius Shepard, RJ Erzendowski can be thrown in there as well.
Yeah, as far as like big time plays that will go down in history, I don't know if you can argue from the receiver room about anyone more important than Erzendowski. Think about the Illinois State national championship, and then basically every other time that we needed a big play. And then I think about UNI homecoming in 2015, I believe.
2015, yep.
When Shep caught the wheel route in the corner of the end zone, that was unbelievable. And Shep, just genuinely one of the greatest humans I've ever met in my life. So also a Charger. We're living good right now. Need him to make the team, and we're rolling. Gonna beat those damn Chiefs.
Right. Yeah, I agree. But now with that, we will we'll shift over to our last segment of the show and wrap up here. We'll kick it over to Grant for Curveball of the Week.
So this week's curveball comes from my good friend Derek, coworker, colleague, friend of mine, avid listener.
Shout out
of
Derek.
The show. And he said, "Hey, I got one for you someday." And the last time I had a curveball, I went somewhere else, but I remembered from what he told me. So guys, I want to know, when you're having a burger, what are your ideal toppings on top of, like I said, anytime you're having a burger and fries, what are you putting on top of that?
So it depends, because I'll get weird with a burger. If I have the time and patience, I'll do the peanut butter and the jalapeno jelly. But just a mainstay, a Tuesday night burger, I'm a lettuce, pickles, raw white onions, ketchup, and mayo. Throw some bacon on there too, if we have it. That's a all-American classic burger. That's what I need.
What type of condiments are you putting on there?
I'm just a ketchup and mayo guy. I know that's kind of counterproductive to what I do in my line of work, but you get weird. Throw some dill pickle mustard on there if you're feeling fancy. But like I said, I don't know. I think it comes from my endearment to Culver's, which I think is the best fast food burger, by the way. It's too late in this video to get in this conversation and start that fight. But mayo and ketchup, you get the crunch of the pickles and the onions. You cut through all the fattiness with some lettuce, and man, that is a home run. It goes without saying too, I need American cheese. I need the plastic yellow stuff on there.
The good old Kraft single.
Absolutely.
Can never go wrong with some Kraft singles.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll go next here. I'm similar to you, Zach, though. I I like the the lettuce, tomato, pickle, the white onion. Usually only get that when I go to restaurants. Occasionally, I will if I'm feeling really adventurous, you could say, I will go and splurge and get some onions and tomatoes. But usually I have some pickles at my house and some. What I like to do is if I'm grilling it, is put a little bit of some Big Deck barbecue sauce on the burger, and then you put cheese on it and let it melt. There, you got something there. Bacon, and then with ketchup. And similar to you, I'm not huge mustard on the burger, but I do like mayo on my burger. So that's I sounds real original, but you know what? Sometimes you just gotta go keep things simple. There's beauty in simplicity, and that's the way to go.
Sometimes to go forward, you have to go back.
Yep, exactly. Matthew McConaughey, or as my dad called him once, Michael Mahogany.
If I ever write under an alias or if I start a blog, I'm gonna have a character named Michael Mahogany. That's a great name.
But no, guys, again, let's make it a clean sweep here. Mayo on your bun is just there's something about it. It's great on a burger. I can't get enough. And for me,
now, are you guys toast? Do you toast your bun? Are you toast your buns, guys, or do you just go plain?
It depends what kind of bun. There's some if it's if just a white bleached flour ballpark bun, I don't think there's any reason to toast it. But if you splurge on a brioche or a nice poppy seed or a sesame seed bun, yeah, get some grill marks on it. And honestly, it helps prevent sogginess, which I think is key.
I couldn't agree more. And then also sometimes I like a good pretzel bun.
Yeah,
burger on a pretzel bun there. But I'm just kind of a pepper jack cheese, some barbecue sauce, bacon, and then a little fried onions on top.
That's a great burger.
Yep, that's kind of all I need because Bunny's in St. Louis Park here. They have they call it a Rack Attack burger, and it's essentially everything I just said. Barbecue sauce, pepper jack cheese, onions, bacon, and they do throw on a piece of lettuce right there. But anytime I go, that's the go-to.
Yeah,
right there. That's half-pound patty and then the barbecue sauce comes on the side. Well, I naturally take my bun off and put it on top of the burger, and it's an absolute mess. But it's absolutely fantastic.
See, I'm not afraid to get messy eating a burger. Why treat it different than wings or ribs? I'm here to get ugly. Let's go. Yeah. We're going for some carnage.
That's right. So, and Zach, I just thought of one more question I have to ask before we wrap this show up here. Now, the last time we talked, we were talking about bets and challenges that you've done with Big Deck BBQ. You still waiting on that beer mile run. I don't know if I've missed it or you just haven't done it yet. But how many likes or bathe in barbecue sauce?
Huh. Ooh. Well. The only problem with that is I don't know how I'm going to turn that into content and still be able to have this as a profession. So maybe I'll fire up the OnlyFans or something and post my barbecue sauce bath.
Yes.
But, on the beer mile subject, it's been tough because everywhere here that has a track that I could run on is a school, and I'm not bringing 4 Miller Lights onto Cheney Middle School's campus just for a gag because I got 1,000 followers on Twitter. So I think I'm gonna have to go out on the country and run on a gravel road somewhere. I think when it cools off in a little bit, I'm gonna do that. I'm still a very large man, so I need as many handicaps as possible as we go into this. I'll tell when we hit 10,000 likes, I'll post or 10,000 followers on Twitter, I'll post the barbecue sauce bath.
Oh, okay. I thought I was going to be a higher one. Now, so if 10,000 is the barbecue, say what about at 100,000? What are you doing?
I'm gonna film myself driving my car into water or something. I don't know. We're just gonna keep raising the bar.
All right. So now, we appreciate you, Zach. Thanks for coming on. Now, where can people find your stuff? Now, you've got Big Deck BBQ, the Benchwarmers podcast. I'm hoping is renewed for season 2 here, but where can people find all things Zach Willis?
Yeah, so big thing with Big Deck is basically wherever you're grocery shopping in North Dakota, we're excited to expand our reach and our presence. So if you can't find it, you give us a shout and we'll get it wherever we can to get it close to you. You can also order it online if you want it shipped right to your door. Benchwarmers is coming up. We're going to do season 2, hopefully kicking off after the Eastern Washington game. Quinn obviously has some constraint. I mean, I'm a goofball. I can do whatever I want at any hour of any day, but Quinn has a baby and a full-time job, so we're going to figure that out, how to get him in. But, it's more for my sanity than for the people that are clamoring for content, because me and him, we just prove to each other how insane each other are every time we sit down and talk for an hour. I'm sure you guys can relate. But
Yep.
we're going to get through Benchwarmers, and then if you just want general debauchery, you can follow me on Twitter. It's been funny. I get followed by some people who know me in like real life personally, and they know that side of me, that persona, and they follow me on Twitter. I'm like, you are not gonna enjoy this experience, so you might as well hit the mute button while we're here. But yeah, it's it's been overwhelming with the support from everybody, from, as Mr. Jeff Culhane would say, from the Red River Valley to the Western Edge and all points in between and beyond. We've been getting shout outs for Big Deck barbecues. So thank you to your listeners. Thank you to you guys for having me on, and look forward to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. We will have to do this again. There's going to be some big ones coming up. We did a preview before the UND game. Might have to do one for the South Dakota State game, playoff preview, and just have a general discussion and see where it goes. Similar. This is somewhat similar to the Benchwarmers, where we're going to hit record and see how stupid we sound and how see wherever the conversation takes us, because I think that's exactly what we want to do is that.
Yeah, that's kind of the experience of any conversation with me. I don't necessarily love that about myself, but I kind of commandeer the conversation, and if something pops into my brain, that's the direction the conversation goes. Like earlier when you mentioned pepper jack cheese, I wanted to talk about my only beef with pepper jack cheese is that I haven't found one that has a true spice level that is adequate to me. When you just buying like grocery store pepper jack cheese, isn't that spicy? So I need to find a good one that I have access to, because you really can't beat it if you're making mac and cheese, or like you said, feeling frisky for a burger.
This is good, Zach, because Derek has roasted Grant on Twitter. Grant doesn't have Twitter. He's used his NDSU account. He doesn't know his password, can't get back in. So we had Grant cannot handle spice like you and I can.
Well, because according to Derek, he goes, anything over a mild cheddar, it's too spicy for Grant, and the only sauce he can use is ketchup, which is a total fabrication. And I'm not going to go out and claim that I can handle, the world's hottest hot sauce, but I can handle more than what he likes to clown me on Twitter when I can't defend myself.
Yeah, see, that's not fair, because it's just it's not like people enjoy it. It's just a tolerance thing. Because I'm not a super spicy guy. I do like a little bit of heat, but my dad is genuinely in for like the pain that he receives from eating something hot. And I'm like, I'm just not into that game. Like at B-dubs, just give me my mild buffalo and my sweet barbecue, and I'll party over here. You can eat all that other garbage. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me at Buffalo Wild Wing, anything over like an Asian zing, I'm just like, I can't do it. And even that, it's like maybe 6 wings max on the Asian zing, because after a while, I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, man, I'm sweating.
Underrated sauce at B-dubs, I will say.
It's a great sauce. It's fantastic. Yes. But like
that might be our next time you come on, Zach. That might be our next Mount Rushmore we do is we rank our Buffalo Wild Wing sauces.
Sure, that's a great one, because they did just rotate the hot buffalo back into it, and that's a great sauce.
And the hot barbecue as well.
Yes. So I'm not a super spice guy, like I mentioned. I'll dabble in the buffalo world. But when we hit 1,000 followers on Facebook, me and my dad ate a ghost pepper on camera, and after that, I'm like, I reached the mountaintop, man. Like I don't need to prove my manlyhood to anybody else when it comes to spice.
And then for fantasy football, I had to do the pancakes, and then for taking last in the tournament or splitting last in the tournament, we had to split a one of those hot chips, and that I don't know if I've sent the video to Grant, but Zach, I could send it to you on when we're done here, and you can watch us struggle through it, and then thinking that like one of those like little like things of milk that you can buy at a gas station. We needed like a half a pint or a gallon of it just to get through it, because it got hot, and it didn't get like hot right away. It just progressed and progressed and progressed.
That's
and
the
then
worst
it felt
part,
like it
like when we ate the ghost pepper, you're hitting at like 5 minutes, and you're like, all right, it's not getting worse, and then you feel it start to get worse, and it hits 10 minutes, and you're like, all right, it has to stop now. Like every other spice that I've encountered stops at this time. No, it's just getting hotter. And the anxiety sets in of like, is this going to get hotter than where I'm at right now? And it inevitably does. It feels like a chemical reaction is happening inside your mouth. And the worst part is, like every scientist I've heard talk about this, there's just no qualming it. It just is what it is. You're going to have this burning in your mouth until it's done.
and that's exactly what it is. And like it sat in my stomach like all day, and then when I woke up on Sunday, it was like, oh boy, I better make sure I have enough toilet paper. But
It's gonna be
this episode now officially has it all, because we were gonna wrap up about 10 minutes ago, and now we've officially given the Midwest goodbye, where it's still about 10 minutes later we're still talking, but now, and it's not goodbye, now we're getting too sentimental here, but it's see you later. So Zach, we will see you later, and can't wait to do it again.
All right, fellas. Appreciate you, Grant. It was great to meet you. Great discussion. Looking forward to the next one.
You as well, Zach.